What's up, homies? Let's talk about sketchy landings in skateboarding. This is a common subject, everybody talks about it, so I'm just going to address some of my pet peeves that I wouldn't technically call a landing when you're skating. Putting your hand down. That's a tough one. If you put your hand down, you're using that to push yourself back onto the board. Trust me, putting your hand down even a little bit helps a lot. And you'll see people putting their hand down on extremely large gaps or long stair sets. That's kind of acceptable. Like once it goes to a certain amount of stairs, I would say around 15, 17. Okay. 15 to 17 stairs. Your legs technically are reaching the limitations of being able to just bounce around. So you can start minorly putting your hand down, but it's better if you land on the bolts of the board and then put your hand down. Not like sketch out backwards and put your hand down kind of thing or anything. Which also leads to if you're imbalanced backwards and you do a power slide and change the direction of your board, that's another thing that nobody accepts until it's larger gaps and larger stair sets. Even then, people don't like to see a spin out after you landed a trick because they know you landed off balance and you were just good enough to pull into a power slide and land the trick by generating more forces on the wheels to tilt you back upright, which takes a lot of skill. Trust me, I've seen many pros do it all over the years and they make it look like it was a trick, but trust me, they all would have rather rolled away symmetrically. Which brings me to my next point. Land your tricks symmetrically. Don't land them off at an angle. Don't land them kind of with your feet not symmetrically. Land both feet with each other. Not one over here and one over there. And those are acceptable too if it's a larger stair set or a larger gap. You can land with your feet partially off the board if you can keep rolling away at full speed. But if your heel touches the ground or your toe touches the ground, that's not cool because it'll slow your board down. People can perceive that and it doesn't look like a land. So putting your hand down can also kind of not look like a land. Putting your foot down cannot look like a land. Spinning your board out cannot look like a land. What else? Kind of like being too forward or too back on your board can make a land look a little bit sloppy. I mean, the endo land looks better than the kick out land, where you kind of like had your board tilt up really quick and slap back down. I mean, the other way is like you just land on the very front of the board and hope that it holds on, and those are more acceptable. Those are scary. Like to land on the very front of your board after doing a large stair set or something, it starts to get acceptable again as long as you can roll away at full speed. Don't flail your arms around. A lot of people aren't liking this anymore. My friend James Craig is getting hated on for that a lot. And I get it. It doesn't look good when you're flailing your arms around. He used to do it because he was skating at such high speeds, which makes him have to flail his arms faster. So it's a trade-off. You can't just get away with skating at super high speeds to land your tricks because people can catch on to that being easier than harder. And it is like going and doing a trick when you're doing it super fast. It's like you're on and then you're off. Certain tricks look better slower. Certain tricks look better faster. But in general, it's subjective on what you're doing. Like a large handrail, if you do it slow, it looks like you really stood up to it. Like Ardo Sari will sometimes take a large handrail on extremely slow, just ollie up to it with almost no speed, and he makes it look better than anybody else. But that's his style. Not everybody can make it look like he does. Pretty much nobody does make it look like he does. But it's not to say that people just bombing down rails doesn't look good too. It's just really quick. It doesn't make a long scene. A lot of Jamie Thomas's videos are like that. Like, he stands up to rails and in a different way than Ardo does. He conquers them. He has a method, and it totally works. Ardo has a method, and it totally works. But compare the two. Someone that approaches a handrail slow and one that approaches it fast. And there's not actually one or the other that's sketchy. Those are the two best handrail skaters there are. So, it's all in the eye of the beholder. The harder your tricks are, the more people accept a sketchier landing, though. You know, like Rodney Mullen did a bunch of flat ground tricks that are a little bit sketchy sometimes, but it's because he's on flat ground and he has no chance of basically hopping a little bit higher and waiting for the board to rotate more, or jumping off stairs and having a lot of time for the board to rotate. He's on flat ground, so he has to get his feet on the board however he can. So it becomes acceptable more in freestyle as long as the trick is harder than anybody else could do, which pretty much all Rodney's tricks are.